Good morning, Tampa Bay. Good morning. It's as good of a morning as we could possibly have on this another sad loss for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another sad loss. Sorry, I'm throwing out the Twitter link here for you guys. I want to hear you. I want to hear your thoughts. Hop in the YouTube chat. We need to discuss this. I'm to the point now, after seeing the Bucs play like complete garbage for 7 out of 8 games that they have been on the field this season. Who's going to be held accountable? We need action now. We don't need any more words. We don't need who is going to do this, who's going to do that. We have to play better. We have to hold ourselves accountable. No, you're at the time now where you've lost 4 of 5. You're supposed to be a Super Bowl contending team, and you have lost 4 of 5. And 2 to the Steelers, which I'll give you. I said at the very beginning of the year, before we knew the Bucs were going to struggle, I had a feeling about the Steelers. I had a feeling that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to win. So that to me didn't really shock me. But let me tell you, when you get your asses handed to you by the Carolina Panthers, and it wasn't a close game. If you look at the stats from last night, there was not a close game either. But you got your asses handed to you by the Carolina Panthers. That should have been putting all of the coaching staff on the hot seat. Todd Bowles, Harold Goodwin, Byron Leftwich. Doesn't matter who you are, you should be on the hot seat. And then last night you get embarrassed because the game was not, I said the game was not nearly as close as the scoreboard indicates. 231 yards on the ground this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense allowed against a team you knew was going to run the ball. Amazon showed us the stats last night. They run the ball 62% of the time. You knew they were going to run the ball. Mark Andrews left in the first quarter. You did not even have the ability to use Mark Andrews being on the field as an excuse. You're not scared of Devin Duvernay. Rashad Bateman didn't play. What was the excuse? Oh, well, Carlton Davis was out. Carlton Davis didn't stop the run. Antoine Winfield Jr. is a secondary player as well. Sure, do they do safety blitzes every now and then? Sure. Devin White got obliterated when he was in coverage. Devin White playing spy on Lamar Jackson, just sitting there essentially, waiting for a tackle to get up on him before he makes a decision on what he's going to do. Before it's too late, didn't help the cause. Shaq Barrett has a torn Achilles. He's done for the season now. So who is going to be held accountable for the slow start? Because the time to act is now, guys. The time to act is now. You don't have an easy schedule remaining. You came into this season as the number 1 ranked NFC team. You're in the weakest division in the NFL. And now you're in second place to the Atlanta Falcons, who are supposed to be in last place. What happened? I'm telling, right? Let Carolina beat the Falcons. Or let the Falcons get up another game on us. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Tom Brady had this to say after the game.
I think we've struggled pretty much at everything. We just struggle in the red area, struggle in third down, struggle in the run game, 2-point plays, short yardage, backed up, Start the first quarter, start of the third quarter, not very good offense.
You can't struggle everywhere and expect to win games, guys. I don't care if you've got the GOAT. I don't care who's on the team. You can't struggle. You can't struggle and expect to win the game. Jay in the chat, D Delaney running into Darden. So I text you. I text Jay when that happened and said, "Oh, this is going to be a long game. This is going to be a long game." And like I said, I don't care what the scoreboard says. Tom Brady was 26 of 44 with an 89.7 passer rating. 325 yards. That's great. 1 touchdown. 325 yards, 1 score. Great. Lamar Jackson, 27 of 38, 104.9 passer rating, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns. The GOAT got outplayed by a running back because that's the narrative, right? Lamar Jackson's not a quarterback. Lamar Jackson is a running back. Tom Brady has now been outplayed by Lamar Jackson, not a quarterback. He's been outplayed by Kenny Pickett, by Mitchell Trubisky, by PJ Walker, by Aaron Rodgers, by Patrick Mahomes. Is it the offense? Like, Kurt Herbstreit last night, and I'm glad he said this, where they pulled up the stat and they're like, look at the guys that have missed time this season. You've had 2 seasons with Mike Evans. You've had 2 seasons with Chris Godwin. It doesn't matter if Mike Evans misses a game. You've had 2 seasons with him. If he misses a game because of suspension, what does that mean? What does that do? That's nothing. That's stupid. What I'll tell you is stupid is our coaching staff. And it starts from the top down. It starts at Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles stands there. Look, Todd Bowles, I understand now when I covered the Lions. And Lions fans would be extremely pissed off when something bad would happen and Jim Caldwell would just stand there on the side. Arms crossed, just staring off into the distance, looked like he was lost. Maybe he'd blink, maybe he'd breathe, maybe he's dead. Todd Bowles does the same thing. Todd Bowles does this exact same thing. For what? It's ridiculous. He just stands there. He's got no fire. He's got no enthusiasm. He's got good or bad. He's not screaming at guys. He's not celebrating with guys. He just stands there. I want to know whose decision. I'm assuming it was Byron Leftwich. But whose decision was it to put Julio Jones to give his first touch in how many weeks to be a goddamn end around? Behind an offensive line that can't block. You've got old, frail Julio Jones getting the ball behind the line of scrimmage on an end around as his very first touch in 6 weeks. You gotta be ridiculous. Tom Brady was overthrowing. Tom Brady was underthrowing. So there's some idiots that are sitting here and they're posting on Channelside Sports comment section. It wasn't Tom Brady. It was the defense. Well, the defense doesn't score touchdowns. And the offense really doesn't either. Yet another 44-yard rushing game for a running back that wanted top 8 money. A 44-yard running game. What do you do with that? Make a trade. I'm telling you, literally just blow it up. Tom Brady came back and made everybody excited and said, okay, yeah, now we're going to the Super Bowl. We're not going to the Super Bowl. Well, they lost to the Bears 2 years ago and they won the Super Bowl when they weren't expecting to. So? That was 2 years ago. We're talking about this season. And now we're using, oh, well, Godwin was hurt. Oh, well, Evans was suspended. Oh, well, Julio's been out. Oh, well, they don't have Russell Gage. Those are not reasons to overthrow or underthrow your wide receivers. If you've got Mike Evans, who is one of the deadliest wide receivers in the red zone in the entire NFL, stop it. Just seriously, stop it. You can't tell me that that's a viable excuse. There's no reason for Tom Brady to be overthrowing or underthrowing. I think it's time we start looking at Tom Brady as part of the grand scheme of problems. He's not untouchable. He's holding this team hostage for this season and next season with his salary cap hit. He's got a $35 million dead cap hit next year. If this should piss you off right now that this team is 3-5. You should be embarrassed right now that this team is 3-5 as they came into the season as a Super Bowl contending team. This team's going to have to win out and play absolutely perfect for the remainder of the season to convince any of us that this is a Super Bowl team, only to lose to the Eagles in the playoffs anyway, who somehow just got even better. I mean, the rich, it's crazy, right? The rich get rich and the poor get poor. $44 yards on the ground, man. We can't blame the offensive line's run block anymore. We can't blame that because they're actually not that bad. Brady is now the most sacked quarterback in NFL history. I mean, that comes with, playing for 126 years, but there's just 3-5. You're second in the weakest division. You're 3-5. The Rams are going to have a field day because the Buccaneers can't do anything on offense, and the Rams defense is going to have a field day. What do you think, Cooper? We knew that the Ravens were going to run the ball. We couldn't stop it. We know that Matthew Stafford is going to pass the ball, and Cooper Kupp's going to have at least 10 receptions at the very least. And the Bucs can't do anything to stop it. We talk about a revenge game. We could talk about whatever we want. Oh, the Bucs are coming out for revenge. Tom Brady came out of retirement for unfinished business, and it looks like he's not taking care of any business. Who knows? We're hearing murmurs now Byron Leftwich might be fired. Somebody's got to go. Somebody has to be held accountable. I'm all in favor. And here's the problem. Here's the problem for me is the team is playing so poorly everywhere that if you fire Todd Bowles, nobody deserves to be promoted to be an interim head coach. That's the problem that the Buccaneers have right now. That's the issue that I'm seeing with the Bucs is you can't fire Todd Bowles. What are you going to do? Promote Byron Leftwich for having a terrible offense and say, hey, you know what? There you go, kid. You did good a year ago. You did good 2 years ago. It's terrible this year, but you know what? Here's your shot. Here's your opportunity. It doesn't work like that. And it can't. Byron Leftwich doesn't deserve to be promoted to the head coach. That's why Todd Bowles, as hot as his job should be, unless they've got something already in the fire. I just had an epiphany here. If Bruce Arians and Tom Brady hate each other, fire Todd Bowles, bring back Bruce Arians, Tom Brady waives his no trade clause, and we're in the clear. That'll do it for us today. I mean, a man can get his hopes up, can't he? 'Cause I'm literally, I would rather watch Kyle Trask making no money with virtually no with virtually no cap hit on the field instead of Tom Brady. I'd rather watch Kyle Trask, who can't win the backup role, on the field. That's what I would rather see. I would rather see that than Tom Brady getting pissed off at his wide receivers because he underthrew them or he overthrew them. Having conversations with Mike Evans, throwing his hands up in the air like it's everybody else's fault, but it's not mine. I'm Tom Brady. Trade Tom Brady for anybody. I don't even care at this point. Trade Tom Brady for an offensive lineman. Trade Tom Brady and a 4th-round pick for an offensive lineman because somebody's going to hold the Buccaneers hostage for trying to trade for an offensive lineman. Do that. It doesn't matter who they trade Tom Brady for. If you get Tom Brady to waive his no trade clause, you're clearing up a hell of a lot of cap space so you can actually do something and try to start righting the wrongs. But I'm totally okay with blowing this team up at this point. I think looking at this team as a playoff team right now is a joke. They don't look like a playoff team. You can't struggle on 1st down and 3rd down and running and passing and defense and offense and special teams and expect to get anywhere in this league. Growing up as a Lions fan and covering the Lions at the start of my career, this was something that I was used to. So like I didn't get so hot. I wasn't so heated of like, we expected them to suck. Every year we expected the Lions to crap the bed and just suck. That was our regular feeling. That was every year. Sure, you drink the Kool-Aid a little bit before the season starts, you get a little amped, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, but it's the Lions." This Buccaneers team was the favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl for a reason. I'm telling you. Start the rebuild now. Start trading some of these guys that are replaceable. Leonard Fournette, replaceable. Devin White, replaceable. Shaq Barrett, not anymore because he wasn't playing well. You have to make a splash. Carlton Davis, replaceable. Vita Vea, replaceable-ish. You've got an entire roster of guys you could just say, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. Donovan Smith, do you want to restructure your contract and save us $8 million? Yes or no? No, you're out. Do it. What's the point? What is the point of keeping the team together if you're just going to underachieve? Because we can't have any more of these press conferences saying, we believe in our guys. We believe in our guys. Wish in one hand and shit in the other. Right? Like that's where we are right now. You can believe in these guys and wish and hope and pray that they're going to play and perform well, but they're not because the coaching staff is not getting them prepared. Because we learned that Todd Bowles is not a good head coach. That's where it starts. It starts with Todd Bowles is not a good head coach. Great guy. Love Todd Bowles. Not a good head coach. Byron Leftwich, maybe not a good offensive coordinator. Maybe we stop abandoning the run completely. 44 yards on the ground? Like, that's just... And this is like a routine thing all the time. How do you just completely abandon the run when you're struggling to pass the ball also? Oh, well, if we start out the game hot, that opens up the play action, but then you abandon the run anyway. So there's no point on starting the game by running the ball. It's literally a rinse, wash, repeat situation for the Buccaneers week in and week out. It's almost like it's like Byron Leftwich is behind his clipboard. He's got a Nintendo Switch with Madden on it, and he's hitting Ask Madden to run the plays. And because the algorithm is shit, it only runs 4 or 5 different plays. That's what that feels like to me. That's how I'm viewing this offense right now. I have no idea what's going on with the defense. I really don't, because the defense came out hot. We were not missing Ndamukong Suh. We were not missing Jason Pierre-Paul at all. You know, maybe in our hearts we were missing them, but statistically we were not missing them for the first quarter of the season. And now all of a sudden, everything is just falling apart. You can't stop the run. You can't stop the pass. The Buccaneers are lucky that Mark Andrews went out. If Mark Andrews doesn't go out, this game is not on the scoreboard, is not even close. They were doubling Andrews, and he was, I mean, outside of the one nice breakup that Levante David had, he was routinely running through them. He had no problems. He had no problem getting the ball. Someone has to go. We have to stop. Well, we're going to evaluate. We're going to see how we can get better. We're going to see what's what. We're going to see who can handle adversity. Todd Bowles said it 2 weeks ago now. The time for talking is over, and it's time to put action into play. Time for talking is over. Now let's start putting people in play. Let's start holding people accountable. Let's start putting people under fire, putting them under the hot seat. Let's start trading away some guys that are not earning their keep. Let's start building towards the future, because the season is pretty much done. You play to win a Super Bowl. Can anybody literally look at this team realistically and say that this is a Super Bowl winning team? Because if it's not a Super Bowl winning team, you know that Brady's gone next year and you've got nobody at quarterback. Almost literally nobody at quarterback. You have Kyle Trask. I think you have Ryan Griffin as well, but he's on the practice squad anyway. So you've basically gotten a non-existent quarterback, which is arguably the most important position of the entire game. You've got nobody back there. I'm not saying you have to trade Tom Brady, but if you bring Bruce Arians in and there's actually a rift and Tom Brady says, hey, I want out, there's your door. Call up the social media team for the Buccaneers and have them tweet it out and tag every NFL team. Goat's available. Brady's available. He wants to waive his no trade clause. Who wants him? Let's put it out there. But you got to start looking towards the future. This is what they should have been doing anyway. This is why we were talking about, you know what? Maybe you sign Baker Mayfield. Maybe you go after Jimmy G. This is what we were talking about all off season. During training camp, through preseason, before Baker was traded to Carolina. Like, this is the things that we were talking about, is you have to look ahead. If you know that Trask is not your guy, then what are you doing? You can't sit idle on your hands in this league. A, the season is too short, and B, the teams are, way too competitive. You can't sit idly. You've got 10 days until your next game. You need to address the elephant in the room, and that is the piss poor coaching. That's what that is. That's exactly what that is. It's from Todd Bowles down. But like I said, you fire Byron Leftwich, you're going to get what? 1 game, 2 games, 3 games max of, oh my God, the Buccaneers are back. And then it's going to be back to reality because you still got the leader of the circus here. But his seat, as hot as we want Todd Bowles' seat, if you're take away your anger, take away your frustrations, and look at it rationally, Todd Bowles' seat's probably not even hot because there's nobody to replace him with. Were they going to get Sean Payton to come? Like, there's nobody to replace Todd Bowles with. That's the problem. Get Sean Payton and then bring back Jameis Winston. Is that what we're going to do in Tampa now? But there's nobody. So Todd Bowles' job is safe. I would be very shocked if the Buccaneers actually made some sort of decision with one of their coaching staff and let them go. I would be very shocked if it was Todd Bowles. But we do know that a lot of times the first person to go is the head coach. But usually when that happens, somebody internally is getting promoted to take over that job for the remainder of the season and then likely not getting that job full time the following season. But that's the conundrum here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is nobody is doing a good enough job to have earned that temporary promotion. Nobody's done a good enough job. Harold Goodwin is in charge of the running game. He's in charge of literally the worst part of the entire offense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He should not be the head coach. Nobody on this team should be the head coach. Let's give it to the special teams coordinator. Ryan Suckup is doing fantastic. Let's give it to the special teams coordinator. Where do you go from here, guys? Where do you go from here? If I get a tweet from any of my or a text from any of my friends or a tweet from Ian Rappaport that says, somebody's been fired, somebody's been traded, I'm all for it. As long as it's not Mike Evans, I'm all for it. I think he's the only guy that I realistically, because look, Levante David's not gonna go anywhere now. Right? He's playing good, playing well, but I don't think Levante David is going to go anywhere. I think that he's one of those guys that you're like, nah, he's off the table. He's been here his entire career. We're not giving him up. Because there's been opportunities and they haven't done it before. So there's no reason to think that they would do it now. So I think Levante David, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, Levante David and Mike Evans, I think, are the only two guys that I would say I would keep off of the trade block. Literally throw everybody else on. You have to throw up either Mike Evans or Chris Godwin to entice people to get on the phone with you. You have to. And if I have to choose, I'm keeping Evans and I'm putting Chris Godwin up there because Chris Godwin is very, very injury prone. Chris Godwin has never played a full season. He's always hurt. Love Chris Godwin. Look at what he does when he gets the ball. He's a great wide receiver. But your best ability is availability. Right? Like, that's why everybody clowned the 49ers for trading for Christian McCaffrey. 49ers had nothing but a revolving door of health at the running back position. They trade away 4 draft picks to still have a revolving door of health at the running back position. I don't know. But I would say I would say all things are on the table. All things, call us up, we'll talk. If I'm Jason Light, that's my motive right now. Call me up, we'll talk. Who do you want? Obviously, we can't trade Brady. Unless other things happen. But that would be way too much of a dirty tactic, I think. if they fired Todd Bowles and brought Bruce Arians back. Regardless, let's say Arians and Tom Brady are thick as thieves, they're best as friends. I feel like that's still a dirty tactic if you were to fire Todd Bowles and bring Bruce Arians back regardless. I think that's just a dirty tactic. But I also feel like this team might be too far gone. I really think that this team might be too far gone for where they are now. I think that if we're looking at where they are, I think mentally they're all checked out. I really do. I think that mentally this team is completely checked out. I don't know if there's any saving this team. I really don't. I don't know if a head coach can come in and turn it around. I don't know if they can figure it out. Because you've got one of the oldest rosters in the NFL and you still can't figure it out. It's been 8 weeks and you haven't figured it out yet. You know, Nick Leverett played a little bit better than Luke Gedeke did. That's a plus. But you abandoned the run, so it didn't really do a whole lot of good there, though, does it? I think Byron, as I'm looking at my rundown and my notes, I think Byron Leftwich should be let go solely for having Julio Jones run that end around for his first touch in 6 weeks. If I'm being totally honest, like the more I look at that, the more I look at my rundown, the more I look at like, okay, so, you know, can we look at somebody? Can we look somewhere else? And that's just such a glaring note. Whoever did, like, if that was a Byron Leftwich call, you need to leave. I'm sorry. Like, how stupid is that? Can the Bucks hire an exec? I'm not sure. I mean, technically, well, yeah. I don't know. Does anybody else in the chat? Does anybody else happen to know the answer to that? Can Bruce Arians actually come back because he's now technically an executive and not an active member of a coaching staff of the Bucks or any other team for that matter? It's an interesting question. One that I would be look. I feel like by now you know how, like, I like to stir the pot and have, you know, like some wild and outlandish things happen, like thoughts go on, and like, you know, hey, if we want to get rid of Brady, you would want to get him to waive that no trade clause. Here's the best way to do it, like that kind of thing. You know what? Like, but here's the problem: like, Tom Brady would, right? Yeah, end around with a guy who has a torn PCL who took like 5 seconds to get up off the ground, shaking his head no after he got up, where you're like, okay, clearly the guy tweaked his knee and he wasn't ready, let alone to run a goddamn end around. Like, how stupid can we be? You know, if Tom Brady was to waive his no trade clause, where would he waive it? Because I'm sure, you know, if they did the whole thing with Arians, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. If they did the whole thing with Arians and they got Arians back and Tom Brady waived his no trade clause, where would he want to go? San Francisco? They don't have anything really to give up anymore. They just gave up the house. They just gave up the house to get Christian McCaffrey. They've done nothing about it. There's not really anything that they have. I'm sure they're not willing to part with anybody else. You can't trade Jimmy Garoppolo for Tom Brady because what happens if Tom Brady happens to go down? Trey Lance is out for the season. He's already done. Right? Like, so that's problematic. You can't, like, San Francisco's got to be off the table now. Right, yeah, of course, yeah. They've run the end around before, and we've seen them do that plenty of times with Chris Godwin. I think they did that last night with Chris Godwin. It doesn't matter how fast Julio Jones is. He's missed 6 weeks with a knee injury. You don't put a guy in that position on his first play, on his first touch back. That's just stupid. Oh, we're going to get him going? You're going to get him freaking hurt is what you're going to do. Like, you can't expect Julio Jones to come out and be the burner that Julio Jones once was. Sure, was he the fastest wide receiver clocked in training camp? Yeah. But he wasn't hurt. He wasn't hurt in training camp. He wasn't coming back from a torn PCL in training camp. He's coming back from that now. I'm at a loss for I need to see some action from the Buccaneers, though. That's what I need. I need to see some action. I need to stop hearing empty words. I need this team to stop telling me they're going to get better. I need this team to stop telling me that we're going to address things. I need this team to actually start taking these words and putting them into play and actually looking and actually addressing things, because they're not doing that. And they're just going to keep telling us that they're going to do it and telling us that they're going to do it. And I don't believe that they're actually going to do anything until they actually do something. Whether it's something like getting rid of Byron Leftwich as the offensive coordinator, whether it's, which I think is obviously, out of all of the scenarios that I've talked about today, I think that's probably the smallest. I don't know. But I'm tired of hearing empty words. Words are words, actions are actions. Show me. Don't tell me. Show me. Show me that you're going to make things happen. Show me that you're going to do it. Because this is now, 4 out of 5 weeks we have heard the same thing. We've heard the same things for 4 out of 5 weeks. We haven't executed. We're going to get better. We're going to look everything over. We're going to practice hard. We're going to build chemistry. That's all great, but it's time to get to work, guys. It's time. It's time to get to work. It's time to stop talking. It's time to start looking at things through a bigger lens. You have to. You have to look at things more detailed, and you just have to get this. You have to. If you're not going to get the ship right this season, which I'm starting to think that this is a lost season. They could come out and they could finish 12-5, right? Let's say that. I still don't, as of right now, it's hard to say that they finished 12-5 and still think that of this team as a Super Bowl team. Because they've got this ugly first half of the season behind them, where they were 3-5, and they very realistically could have been 1-7. They're not very far off from being a 1-7 football team with one of the best wide receivers I feel like I'm talking about the Detroit Lions in like 2012, when they had Reggie Bush, one of the better running backs in the league. A little older, but he still had 1,200 yards. He still had 500 receiving yards. They had Calvin Johnson, best wide receiver in the league. Mike Evans, one of the best wide receivers in the league. They had Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now they've got Tom Brady, the best of all time. They had Golden Tate. You got Chris Godwin. I feel like I'm talking about the Detroit Lions. The problem is that the Bucs had these high expectations. Right? We had these high expectations of, this is a Super Bowl team. They're powerhouse of the NFC. And now everybody's just scratching their heads, and they're just sitting there going with a dumbfounded look on their face going, yeah, we're gonna practice hard. We're gonna address some things, and we're really hoping that that we get some things figured out. How many you haven't done anything on the ground. You've gotten progressively worse on the ground outside of the 3 yards that you had against Kansas City. But you've gotten worse in the running game. Sure, Tom Brady's getting a lot of yards. That's fantastic. The yards are translating to either Ryan Suckup field goals or they're translating into no points. That's what they're translating to. Tell me how many touchdowns does Tom Brady have on the season? You've got all of these empty yards. How many times Tom Brady, it's crazy to me. Through 8 games, Tom Brady has 9 touchdowns. That's it. Tom Brady has 9 touchdowns. Through 8 games, Leonard Fournette's got 386 rushing yards, which is good enough for 48.3 per game. This is your running back that wanted top 8, top 5 money. We had a really good week of practice. Lovie Smith. That's what Todd Bowles doesn't even really say that. Todd Bowles is to the point where you can tell he's fed up when he's at these press conferences. But it also is the media asking the same damn questions. It's literally, it's taking these words and it's using like whatever the hell Bucks Report uses for their articles when they just recycle somebody else's content. That's what some of these questions are. Like there's no originality. It's always just the same things regurgitated and worded differently. So you can tell, yes, Todd Bowles is frustrated. Todd Bowles is fed up. It's time. It's time to make some real adjustments. I'm over the Leonard Fournette. Realistically, I am. I'm over the Leonard Fournette situation. The only thing that's holding anything near and dear to my heart with Leonard Fournette is being able to say, Lardo Lemmy and, Lombardi Lenny and Playoff Lenny, like having the nicknames, right? Those are the only things that are that I'm really holding to me, right? But yeah, I'm over it. We can move on from Leonard Fournette, and I'd be okay with it. Give Rachaad White the opportunity. He hasn't looked great, but he hasn't looked any worse than Leonard Fournette. So give him the opportunity. What are we losing here? Rachaad White averages 3.0 yards per game. Leonard Fournette averages 3.4 yards per game. How much more money does Leonard Fournette make? Get on the phone. Hey, he's under contract for another 3 years. He just signed a 3-year deal with us. Here you go. Make it happen. I don't know. Excuse me. We've got 15 minutes left. I want to wrap it up on a better note, which is crazy to say, but Magic are on the court again tonight. Still looking for their first win. But outside of the Knicks game, I'm okay with them being 0-4. I really was disappointed with the effort that I saw against the Knicks. I think that for me, that was the biggest problem, was the effort that I saw against the Knicks. Of course, they've got the Charlotte Hornets tonight at Amway. Hornets are favored by 2.5, which, I mean, that makes sense if we're being totally honest, because the Hornets are 2-2, where the Magic are 0-5. LaMelo is out tonight. Cody Martin is out tonight. And then on our side, we've got Cole Anthony is out tonight, who is also our leading assist at 4.3 per game. Paolo Banchero has set the league on fire. I posted our the press conference that we were part of after the game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I posted that on our Instagram page, and it's, he's saying all the right things. He's averaging 24 points per game as a rookie. He's really taken this team. He strapped this team to his back, and he said, "Guys, I got you. Don't you worry. We're gonna be all right." It it's frustrating, but also we have to understand Cole Anthony is out. Jalen Suggs has been in and out. Markel Fultz is out. There's this is what we're looking at. Jonathan Isaac is still out. Gary Harris is out. Jalen Suggs will be out because he's got the MRI on his hamstring. Was it hamstring? Right on his ankle. Sorry. Um, Wagner's out. I mean, the team has a lot of injuries right now, and they're already young, but now while they're young, they also still have the problem of, well, not only was our bench struggling, the bench is really us as well. So you've got all of these young guys, which is great, and and it's fun, but also we have to start looking at like Jamal Mosley's rotations. Are those the best rotations that we can come up with? Because we're in 4 out of 5 games, we've come out of the gates hot. Right? We've come out of the gates hot. We've been up by double digits after the first quarter in 3 of the 5 games. But then when the bench rotations start coming in, then they start dropping down. We've got to work on that rotational. The rotations that we have right now are just not working. And that's, I think, why we're faltering and we're seeing an 0-5 Magic team. Dell's averaging his 10 rebounds per game. I'd like to see the Magic clean up on the offensive glass a little bit more. To me, I think that's where I'm looking for. I'm looking for, we've got to clean up the turnovers. Right? The turnovers are just the turnovers aren't it. The Magic are also 25th in the league in shooting percentage. We gotta start taking better shots. But also, we are taking good shots. I think Franz was 8 of 18. I think it was against the Celtics. But a lot of those were good shots. They just weren't dropping. Right? Those are things those will just change with time. That's gonna happen. But I need to see improvements. They're sitting middle of the pack. They're 13th right now in offensive rebounds. I want to see improvement from that. I want to see Banchero get higher and get more offensive rebounds. I want to see Dell get more offensive rebounds. Then when you've got Bol and Mo Bamba coming in, like I need to see these guys cleaning up that offensive glass. You can't average 11 offensive rebounds and shoot poorly. That's going to improve your field goal percentage right there. Those are going to go hand in hand. Where the Magic are really struggling for me though is their assists. The dead last, 18.2 assists per game. If we go all the way to the top of the league, we're looking at San Antonio averages 31. Just under 31. Make that extra pass. I'm telling you that's going to, your turnovers are going to drop. Yes, you're a young team, but your turnovers are going to drop. You're 20th right now in turnovers. Make that extra pass. That cleans up the turnovers. You box out. You put an ass on a thigh and box out. Play fundamental basketball. You clean up that offensive glass. Now you're talking about you can either dunk it, you can lay it in for 2. That's going to increase the field goal percentage. And now you started building towards your future, towards winning these games. All it could take for this young team is to get that taste of victory and go, so much better. Let's not do that. Let's not do that ever again. Right? Let's not do that again. Let's just keep this winning momentum. That's all you need with a young team, man, is you need them to start feeling the vibe. You need them to start feeling themselves and start really honing in on, okay, yeah, now that we won, how do we replicate it? And then you look at your game films. Then you do your side-by-sides. I feel like I should apply for a high school basketball coaching position right now. You do your side by sides. Hey, this is what we did when we won. This is what we did when we lost. Do you see the difference? Called the same play here, called the same play here. Where's the execution different? It's not entirely difficult, and I'm sure Jamal Mosley is doing it because I like Jamal Mosley. As a head coach, I think obviously, he's young, he's still inexperienced, and he hasn't had like a collective great group of talent around him. But I think he's got the right mindset, and he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he will be. I think I think the Magic need to make sure that he sticks around for a little while because I feel like he's got his finger on the pulse of this team in terms of just the roster in general, right? The Magic again are there's things just got to drop, and the Magic are living by the three and they're dying by the three as well, and that's not what we want. We know where the mid range and in the paint. Sure, don't, but shooting the three should be a luxury. This is the problem with today's NBA is everybody just wants to shoot the three. But when you're shooting 29.9% from three and you're second to last behind the Lakers who are shooting just over 20%, just stop. Just stop. You're attempting 33s per game and you're only hitting 9. You stop doing that, pump fake it. Pass it down low. Hit Dell on the low block. Try to get Mo Bamba going. Hit Mo Bamba on the low block. Try to get him involved. He hasn't done squat in 5 games. Try to get him involved. All it is for this team, honestly, is just cleaning up. It's just cleaning up these things. And maybe things get cleaned up once they start getting a fresh bill of health. Maybe. But we'll have to see. They're still young. They're still impressionable, right? It's like the little kid in Meet the Fockers. You can't say bad words around him. He's like a sponge. He's impressionable. It's the same thing with this young team. Paulo Banchero's doing all of the right things. Cole Anthony, when he's playing, is doing the right things. Jalen Suggs looked great when he played before he hurt his ankle. Dell has been doing decent. I wanted more from him, but what he's provided so far has been solid. And I can't go against that, and I can't say that I don't appreciate what he's been doing, but I think that he needs to step it up a little bit more. Franz has been hit or miss. Franz looks a little, dare I say, tired from all of the EuroLeague that he played. A little tired, a little slow, a little sluggish for Franz. I think that he's going to he'll get it back. But there's just these little ticky-tacky things, which is why the Magic are 0-5 right now. And, like I said, this isn't a situation where it's like the Bucks where you're coming into the season going, yeah, Super Bowl. There we go. Super Bowl, baby. Tom Brady's back. We got Evans. We got all these guys. Defense is here. Let's go. Super Bowl. I was not heading into the NBA season with my eyes on the Magic going to the NBA Finals and winning the championship. My expectations were I would love for them to get into the play-in game. That was my expectation. With the play-in game being a luxury for this young team, I just wanted to see improvement based on what we saw last season. That was the only place that I wanted to do. Right now, we haven't really seen improvement. We've seen it in certain areas, but we've seen other areas either remain the same or kind of drop a little bit worse at the beginning stages of this season. So we'll see. Hopefully they can knock one off tonight at home against the Hornets and get that first win under their belt, because I really feel like when you've got a young team, when you've got a young core of players, like Paulo Banchero is not used to losing. Right? Some of these guys that were in the league that were on the team last year, sure, they're used to losing. But Banchero, not used to losing. Caleb Houston, not used to losing. So this is new to them. So let's see how they respond. Missing LaMelo, missing Cody Martin. Maybe the Magic pull it off tonight. Clean it up, make that extra pass, and stop shooting a damn three. Mid-range, guys. Mid-range and down low. That should be the name of the game for the Magic. Should be. Who knows? Anyway, everybody, have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We've got Sunday off as Bucks fans, so we can kind of, if you're watching football, just sit back and enjoy. You can watch the Packers on Sunday night get obliterated by the Buffalo Bills, and then just enjoy that as well. But enjoy the weekend. We'll be back to do it all over again on Monday on our Halloween edition of Channelside in the Morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. Thank you for those who tuned in. If you're watching the replay of this on our YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button if you liked what you heard. Hit the thumbs up button, and make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms. Just search for the Channelside Sports Network. I am Danny.